watch them chop it up and make you feel the groove. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Hey, welcome back to Lesson 4, where we are going to cover the major scale and some finger independence. You'll notice that I try to include pictures here that have something to do with what we're learning. And this kid, I don't know whose kid this is. It's a stock image off of Unsplash, but boy does he look happy, huh? He looks so happy. And you know what else is happy? The major scale. The major scale is happy. Which is why I just Googled happy images, and that's what we got. So there's a lot of sounds in music. There's happy sounds, there's sad sounds. This one's definitely happy. So we're going to look at a couple things today. We're going to learn the major scale, which is riveting. And we're going to learn some finger independence exercises to help us get better at playing piano and guitar. Our first finger independence exercises. Okay, so the major scale on the piano. We're going to look at these on two different instruments, piano and guitar. And if you have a piano and a guitar accessible to you, I suggest you use both, because why not? It's only going to make you a better musician. If you can do it, do it. Okay, so we're going to kind of refresh ourselves on the tetrachord. So we learned in an earlier lesson that what a tetrachord is. It's, 4 notes that you play in a row. That is kind of like a half scale. Now, tetrachord meant something different to the Greeks, thousands of years ago. But in modern usage, it means any 4-note segment of a scale or note row or pitch row, tone row. Okay, so the pattern of a major tetrachord, because there's like 4 different types of tetrachords that we might talk about, but the major tetrachord is whole, half. So that's 3 intervals, right? You have a starting note. Which is your root. Then you have your first interval above your root, which is your second scale degree, or whole note away. Then you go another whole note, or a major second, if you remember that from our last lesson, or 2 semitones is a whole note, whole step. And then to the 4th note, it's just a half step. Okay, so now that you're refreshed on a tetrachord, this is what putting 2 of them together looks like. Here we have 1 tetrachord, right? We have a note. Now, these numbers are for the major scale, right? If we just had 1 tetrachord, there would just be these first 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But I have a whole nother tetrachord here, and you'll notice it's the same pattern, right? It's a whole step, half step. And over here I have whole step, half step. And the 2 patterns are a whole step apart, not a half step, a whole step. These aren't slammed next to each other. Okay, so my mouse is betraying me. Okay, so major scale. The important thing to remember is where the half steps are. So you really want to remember this, because that's a good way to kind of learn your different scales, right? And the way that we're going to approach learning scales is this. You're going to learn the most common scales. The one, like this scale is the scale that is overwhelmingly the most common scale, right? So whether you're writing a song, producing a song, soloing over a song, chances are your song is going to be using the scale. It's crazy. I mean, it's probably in the 90th percentile. I don't know if I'm over exaggerating, but really a majority of songs are in the major key. If they're not in the major key, they're in the minor key. They're in the minor mode, right? And those 2 are the most common. And then every other scale, we're going to compare to those 2. So we're going to be like, oh, this scale is just like the major scale, except for 1 note is different. So that's how we'll talk about stuff. But so you have to have a really firm grasp on this scale. Super firm grasp. even the way we talk about the minor scale is how it compares to this scale. So you really want to know the scale. So you want to remember that all the notes are basically a whole step apart, except for the third and fourth note and the seventh and the first note. And you're going to notice over here, I put 8. And I won't put 8 really ever again, probably. But the reason is, as we talked in our last class, right, you have 7 notes in this scale, in what we call a diatonic scale. It's a technical term you don't need to know right now. But you have these 7 notes. The 8th note is the first note with the frequency doubled. So if this is, let's say, an A, this would be a higher sounding A. So here's an A, and here's a higher sounding A. This is my son's guitar. He's 5 years old. A, and then a higher sounding A. Doubled the frequency, right? So some people call that 8. I call it 1. Okay, so on piano, back to piano, you're going to see this a lot in our lessons. This sort of grid, okay? So on the top row of this grid, you have the major scale pattern. And again, notice the 3 and 4 are right next to each other, and 7 and 1 are right next to each other, okay? Now, we're going to look at the A major scale. And everybody starts off usually with the C major scale because it's the easiest. We're not doing that. We're not starting off with the easiest because I feel like you don't see the pattern. It doesn't force you to see the pattern, okay? So here is A. And if we went, see, just like here, here's A. If we went up a half step, remember this note is either called A sharp or it's called B flat. That's why I included both names here, okay? Then a whole step above 1 is 2. So this is our next note in our A major scale. Okay. Now, we skip over this note because we need a whole step to the third note, which gives us C sharp or D flat. Now, this is basically why these notes have 2 names. It's really useful because when we're doing major scales like this, we want every letter of the alphabet represented 1 time. We skip that. We want every letter of the alphabet, A, B, a C letter, even though it's C sharp, D, that should be highlighted red, the same as this. Forgive me, my slide is, I'm a failure. Okay, whole step to 5, E, right? Whole step, this is an F letter, F sharp, whole step to G letter with a sharp. So we don't want to call this A flat, right? Up here, we don't want to call it A flat because we already have an A in the scale. That's why these have 2 names. That's one reason. It's helpful to us. So every letter is in sequential order. Now, what that means is when you look at lined music, it goes like line, space, line, space, line, space. It just, as you climb up any major scale, it just looks like it's moving by step. If you had 2 A letter names in a row, like if you used A flat and A, you would have 2 notes on the same line or space. I'm going to show you that when we get more into reading music. But right now, I just want you to focus on the pattern and the fact that each letter is represented once. That's why we're calling these sharps right here and we're not calling this A flat. We're not calling this G flat. We're not calling this D flat. Okay. So this is the pattern as it looks on piano. And over here, I have like the piano finger numbers. This is how they're numbered. It's different for guitar, but for piano, your thumbs are 1. And I'm going to talk about that in the video demonstration that you're about to see because spoiler alert, I already filmed it. So I know that I talk about that and I show you with my hands. This is sort of important, which of course I hadn't taken into consideration that my picture of my head would cover this. But this is your right hand, and I talk about it in depth. You'll see. But your right hand uses these three fingers, 1, 2, 3. Then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this top box here has a 5 in it. And then your left hand goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you're going to play, you're going to play 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you're going to play 3 more notes, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and that's written here, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, and behind this would be 1. Okay, so now for the video demonstration. A major scale. We're going to do this one hand at a time in the same octave because that's how I have the camera set up. We're going from A to A, and we have an F sharp, a C sharp, and a G sharp. Again, you want to be on your fingertips, but my guitar nails won't allow me to do that. So I'm also going to try and show you the pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay? Now the numbers I tell you are going to correspond not to those numbers. Those are the scale degrees. But these numbers I'm going to tell you are the finger numbers. So this is 1, 2, 3. For your right hand, the pattern is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So you go 1, 2, 3. And when I get to that 3, I want to shift my thumb to the 4th note. See, 3 and 4 are just a half step apart, but I want to go 1, 2, 3, and I want to get that finger there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay, but the finger numbers are 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I go back down, it's just the reverse. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. And notice when I got to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I got my hand ready to, these fingers flew over here to get 3 in position to play 3, 2, 1. Now my left hand, the pattern is the reverse of that. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or it's, yes, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then notice how I shifted here. 3, 2, 1. Once again, that's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. If I go backwards, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, not 4, 1 again. Forgive me. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's your left hand. And for extra credit, which we'll cover later, you're going to put those notes together. And you'll notice that your middle fingers line up a couple times. And I showed you that on the diagram. But we'll cover that in a video to come. Now we're going to look at the major scale on the guitar. Here I have a finger board, a fretboard with finger diagram. And this is a really cool website. It's called The Guitar Scientist. So I made this on this web-based site. It's really cool. You can build your own things. If you want to learn how to do that, you can just YouTube Guitar Scientist, and there's going to be a video that shows you exactly how to do it. It's pretty cool. Okay, so this is our first guitar major scale pattern. And here on this finger diagram, this R stands for root. And you can call the 1 a root. You can call it root. You can also call it tonic. It's another word for this when we're in this key. Now, this particular major scale is C, because this note is C. But the cool thing about guitar is that the patterns are easier to see when you first begin playing guitar. So if I take this pattern and move it, I'm playing another scale. Now I'm going to talk about that in the video demonstration for guitar, because I already filmed it and I know that I talk about it. So root up a whole step to 2. This is a little wonky to feel this, but when you go from the 3rd string on guitar to the 2nd string, this distance is a whole step up. So if I go root 2, whole step to 2, I could go whole step to 3 here, but why have my hand jump all over the place? So I'm going to go a whole step up to 3, and it's basically like skipping 1 fret and going back 1, right? That's the distance of a whole step when you go from this string, the 3rd string, to the 2nd string. And it's a shame that that's the first thing that you see, because the rest of the time it's not like that. It's just, this is the one place on guitar where the tuning is different. The distance from this string to this string is like this one is the same as this one, but when you go from here to here, it's a little different, and then you go back to the normal one like all these. Okay, you're going to learn that a lot better as we go on, but this is whole step to 2, whole step to 3, half step to 4, whole step to 5. Now this is what it would normally look like to go up a whole step while you're going to the next string. 5, big stretch here, not really, to 6, whole step to 7, half step to 1. So your hand plays in this position. Your hand shouldn't move around. Your first finger is going to play all these notes. Your second finger is going to play this note. Your third finger is going to play these 2 notes, and your pinky is going to play these 2 notes. Okay? And you go in this order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay? And now for the video demonstration. We place our first finger on the 3rd string, 5th fret. So 5th fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're in 5th position when our first finger is on this fret. And if we can, if whatever pattern we're playing is within a 4 fret span, each finger basically covers the note on their corresponding fret. That's general. There's times that you don't do that, but general rule of thumb. And we're on our 3rd string, not the 1st, not the 2nd string, but the 3rd string. First finger plays the root of the scale, which we call scale degree 1. 3rd finger goes a whole step up to the 7th fret. Now we're going to the next string. First finger on the 5th fret is playing scale degree 3. But in your head you want to think 1, 2, 3, half step to 4 on the 6th fret, whole step to 5, whole step to 6, whole step to 7, half step to 1. So again, you want to think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And then going backwards, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now these notes happen to be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. This is a C major scale. But it's better to think of numbers than notes right now, because if your song is in the key of D, let's say someone's playing that, you don't have to think for now in your head D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. Instead, you can just think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And it's the same pattern as if you were in the key of C. You want to practice this as many ways as you can. Come up with new creative ways. I'm going to give you a lot of ways to play it, but have fun with this. What's great about it is once you learn that pattern, you can play it on any song. You just have to learn where to put it. And we'll go over that. Not in this lesson, but we will go over it. You can practice this, by the way, up and down the neck. I want to point out one more thing too. It's generally good when you're playing guitar down here, you can play in what's called cradle position, where your hand has contact, light contact with the neck of the guitar, right? And a lot of people, when they come up the neck, they might have contact and they might want to grab the guitar to do stuff. But for now, it's wiser to pivot your hand forward a little bit. Have your thumb on the back of the neck and create space here in your hand. I tell my son and my daughter in their guitar lessons that this is our imaginary pet hamster, and you don't want to kill the hamster. You got to leave room for the hamster to play and build things with Legos right there in your hand, right? My children are not going to make it to adulthood without being a little crazy. But you want to be a little bit of space, thumb on the back. Don't grab like this. Don't have your wrist like this. You want to have your wrist pretty straight, you know? And it helps to have your elbow in a little bit, your elbow into your side. Because you'll notice here, if my hand is pointing this way, these fingers are having a really hard time playing the notes. It's like really hard for my pinky. If I bring my elbow in and bring this part of my wrist in a little bit, everything becomes a lot easier. I also want you to notice how as I go up the scale, I add a note, but I don't lift my first finger when I'm done with it. It's not like I'm going like this. I just kind of stack it on. And then when I go to the next string, I can lift. And I'm adding. The reason for that is because I might want to, do what's called a pull-off and pull notes off, and I need those fingers to be there. Now, a pull-off is more advanced than we're covering right now, but I want you to build the habit of leaving fingers behind the note you're playing, if you've already played them. And then when you go off, you'll notice my fingers are all ready to go. Okay, as promised, we're going to go through a couple different finger independence exercises. And these are also video demonstrations. So we're going to start off with the piano, and then we're going to go straight into guitar. I think I'll go in that order. Let's be surprised. We'll see. Okay, here's your finger independence exercise for piano. This is fun. It's by a guy whose last name I can't say. Leschetizky. Theodore Leschetizky lived from 1830 to 1915. And here we go. Giddy up. We're going to start with our thumb on G and play these 5 notes in a row. And then when we do it with our left hand, same thing, those 5 notes. Now, a couple disclaimers. I'm a guitar player, so I have guitar nails. If you're wondering why I have those, it's to pick the strings, right? And my left hand, right, doesn't have those, but I broke this pinky when I was a kid, and now it locks sometimes when I don't want it to. And I'll go to play something, and it'll lock on me. So I just wanted to give those disclaimers. If you're wondering why I'm struggling on this thing, it's because you really should be on your fingertips, but I have to kind of do a little more flat finger, unfortunately. But you should be on your fingertips, okay? And then my pinky might be stupid on me. Okay, here we go. So the exercise goes like this. You play all 5 notes, then you play just your thumb 3 more times. So it feels like your thumb is playing it 4 times, just so you know. Now, the main reason for this exercise, just like on guitar, because it has to do with our hands, not the instrument, there's a tendon that controls these 3 fingers, right? And so developing independence of them is difficult. So for the most part, when we play with these 3 fingers, we're not going to stress out about it very much. But when we get to these last 2 fingers, we're going to do something a little bit different than we did with these 3 fingers, okay? So all the notes at the same time. 2, 3, 4. Same thing again. 2, 3, 4. Then we move to the next finger, our index. Finger number 2. Same thing again. Then our middle finger. Finger number 3. Now when we get to the next finger, we're going to do something a little different. Now here, I'm going to lift this finger as much as I can, which is not very far. can really only get to here. And then I'm going to repeat again. Lift it as much as I can. And then my pinky. Okay? Now the same thing with our left hand. This time we start up higher because our thumb is higher, right? When we were here, our thumb was the bottom note. Over here, our thumb is the top note. So we go all 5 notes, thumb, and I'm keeping contact with the key. I'm not lifting up my thumb. 2, 3, 4, second finger. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, middle finger. Finger number 3. And my ring finger, lift it up as much as I can, which is not far, but as much as I can. Lift it, and then pinky, and it locked on me. You. For our finger independence exercise on guitar, we have the same problem that we have with piano. We have a tendon here that controls these 3 fingers. And it really trips us up sometimes. So we have to really train these fingers to behave on their own. So this is not necessarily fun, but it's a great exercise to start. And there's a lot of variations on this exercise. This is just the first one we're going to do. But this is a great warm-up at the beginning of your practice session. And that is to play in this position, maybe around the 5th fret. You could go higher too. The frets get a little bit smaller as you go up, so it becomes a little easier to play. But what you're going to do is place one finger down at a time, so within a position. So here, middle finger, 3rd finger, pinky. Now on guitar, we call this 1, 2, 3, fingers 1, 2, 3, 4. On piano, it's different, right? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On guitar, though, our left hand isn't really using our thumb that often, unless you're John Mayer or certain chord shapes where you might do that. But generally, you want to leave your thumb on the back of the neck when you're up here. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? And we're on the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th fret. 1st finger, leave it there. 2nd finger, leave it there. 3rd finger, leave it there. Pinky, leave it there. Just move your 1st finger to the next string. Just move your middle finger, 3rd finger, and you want to leave this pinky here when you lift that 3rd finger. Okay? Then just your pinky. And what you get now, as you go down, this is not as hard, but you're going to place all 4 fingers down on the string. And then you're going to land all 4 fingers down on the next string. Now, I want you to know something. As I peel these fingers away, they're not flying super far away, right? I'm not like throwing my fingers away. I'm leaving them close to the fingerboard. Then I go up a half step. All the way up, I can go all the way down. When I get down here, it's going to feel pretty hard because these strings are a little farther apart. The frets are farther apart, rather. You're going to have fun with this for about 3 minutes, and then you're going to wish you never signed up for this class or clicked on this link. But it's a really great exercise, and there are so many more exercises that we're going to cover that are just like bonkers, but this is the first one. Have fun. Woo! We did it. Lesson 4 is in the bag. music theory with a little bit of technique in here. So some of it, technique and theory are a little intertwined in the beginning. But certainly the finger independence exercises are not theory. They are just technique. So great warm-ups. Hope you do those for 5 minutes before you play anything else. And we'll see you in a few days, a couple days, whenever we meet again. Okay, good talk.